Good afternoon,
Hello, everybody.
everyone. We are joining our second What's Next Live. Last time, Claudia and I, we talked with Milan, with our colleague of ours in the publishing business. This time, we are going to talk with São Paulo in Brazil. And the main idea is to know a bit more how business has been affected in São Paulo and Brazil, and how companies are turning around this crisis and reinventing themselves. My name is Rosemary, and my business in life is to turn small companies into big brands. To talk about Brazil, we have a very, very special guest, Paulo Silvestre, who is a major influencer in Brazil. He has almost 800,000 followers, which is almost 8% of Portuguese population. Yes, that's unbelievable. He is a journalist passionate about technology, and he worked for most of important digital companies in Brazil, and he's also a pioneer in the internet business. He has a master degree in intelligence technology and digital design from Catholic University and an MBA from São Paulo's University. As usual, I'm also here with Claudia, which is my mate for What's Next initiative. And she's my best marketing geek friend. And so we are going to start with you, Claudia. Tell us a little bit about where you are and give us an update about the pandemic in Portugal.
Okay. Thank you, Rose, and thank you, Paulo. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm here today in one of the most iconic places in Lisbon. It's a viewpoint. I can show you around where you can see where you can have quite a good view of the city. Well, I'm not so good taping and recording. This place is really used to be really crowded of people, and now, as you see, there is not so many people. What concerns the coronavirus situation in Portugal, today we have 37,000 cases. 3.7 cases per million people, and a fatality rate around 4%. The government has been helping the companies, but still they predict that the economy will shrink around 77% in the end of the year. So it's quite difficult times we are living. So, Paulo, what can you share about Brazil? Could you give us a snapshot of the situation there, please?
Okay. Well, here in Brazil, we are still in the rise of the curves. Unfortunately, we are experiencing slightly plateau in the curves, which is good news. But I can't assure that it's steady. We need some more days to be sure about that. But we are right now, let me see, we have 965,000 cases here in Brazil and around 47,000 deaths, unfortunately. That's big numbers. We are the second.
The second, yes, I've seen that.
Cases and deaths only behind the US. We are still having around 1,000 new deaths every day, which puts Brazil today in the lead of new deaths. But as I said, we are now experiencing a slightly plateau in the curves. Hopefully that keeps in that pace before we start to drop with the numbers.
And let me ask you, how has been your life during this period? How has been your routine with your family during this period?
Well, the life with the family is intense because we are all day long, every day. But it's kind of interesting because we are 4 people at home, 4 people and 3 cats, by the way.
Wow, that's tough business.
So we needed to reimagine ourselves to share the space for different activities. Me and my wife working and the kids studying. Fortunately, we have space for everyone to perform their activities without interfering with the others. Everyone with its own computers and in its own room. So far so good. But it was now, after 3 months in this isolation process, I could say that we are very used to that. We found a way so we could perform everything that we need. But and especially in the first month, there were several. We need to understand how we would produce that, how we would manage the situation, in order we have everything in place, especially the kids.
Yeah, anxiety
for the studies. Yes, besides the anxiety, the fear of the virus itself. Well, differences about how we study, differences about how we work. Fortunately, we keep working, but everything obviously very different.
Yeah. And Paulo, we know that you are involved in a wide variety of businesses. You are all in several areas. Which ones do you think were the most affected, and what are you doing differently in order to compensate the losses you might have with in those areas?
Okay, definitely what was the most affected area was events.
Yeah, the speaking.
They crashed. Yeah. There was in March there were several events already set up for the coming months, and suddenly everything was gone. No events in place. In fact, some events, fortunately, some companies were able to manage to transform those physical events into digital events. For example, as we were talking before, in April, I was supposed to be in the beginning of May, I was supposed to be in San Francisco, US, for Red Hat Summit. It's a major event from Red Hat. It's an open source company, and obviously the event didn't happen. But the company managed to change the event to become digital, and it was very successful event in a digital way. So okay, and right now we are I'm taking part of SAP Sapphire Now Reimagine, which was supposed to be happening in Orlando, US. It's a huge event. It was they were expecting around 30,000 people there, but obviously it's not happening either. But SAP managed to transform that for a digital way too. And
yes, and it's your next live. We know that.
Right after this, I will be there talking about how digital transformation can take place for small and medium companies.
Let me just say that Carlos is just sent a message on the chat saying that he's totally agree with you that events was one of the most affected business.
Definitely. I say that from my perspective, right? But if I should pick a kind of business in the whole
Claudia, just a moment. Claudia, someone is playing music around you, and it's
yes, I'm chilling.
sorry, Paul, I'm sorry.
Okay,
please.
I guess the worst case was companies related to leisure and hotels and things like that. For example, my sister, she works for this industry, and by the way, she works there in Orlando, and she said that the city just crashed because you understand Orlando. If you close all the parks,
it's
Disney,
parks all around, yeah,
Universal, so there is nothing left there in Orlando, no, and it will be probably one of the last sectors of the economy that will reopen.
So and what about your agency? the clients have changed the way the relation with you? They start asking you different things?
Yes, well,
Or demanding?
In the first month, it was a moment of panic.
Yeah.
I guess that's the word. No one knew what to do, where to go, how to change the way of doing business. Some companies just closed their doors, put employees on vacation. But after 1 month of this initial panic period, I'm glad to see that some companies are restarting to work in a different way, home office, using different strategies. And from our perspective, it's good to see that companies are returning and again asking for content production and online event production, which is new for some of them. They never did that before, but since there is no other way to do that, I'm glad to see that they are returning for these activities.
And did you observe any particular changes in the media landscape? So you are one of the top voices on LinkedIn. Did you observe any increase on any social media, in particular on LinkedIn?
Well, yes. For some sectors, including media, not only digital media, but media overall, I guess this pandemic was good because for different reasons. First of all, because people were very interested and looking for information about the virus and possible cure, how to manage their lives. So, for example, here in Brazil, Globo, which is the largest TV channel, their audience increased about 30% in the very first month. And the responsibles for that were, well, Big Brother. Imagine people are closed at home. Big Brother was something very important for them. And second, the soap operas, and third, which is good, journalism was one of the most important responsibles for the increase of audience. But I experienced that also for digital media. I guess the numbers rose. People were looking for more information. People were producing more information, well, especially lives. Well, in the very first days, there were an explosion of lives of different kinds. I was overdose of live. I couldn't stand anymore for lives. Yes, every time I open, for example, my Instagram, there was about 20 people live at the same moment. I couldn't manage how to choose what to see. So it was interesting because many people had their first experience on producing content. So this was very interesting, and but also, yes.
And this will not change. Maybe it will slow down, but I think it's a trend that will stay in the future.
I believe that's already slowing down in the sense that that was some news about that, and well, people got used to that, so they're not so eager to take part of that anymore. But
then there is TikTok.
After that, we yes. But I guess we reached a new level that will remain. So from this on, people will still keep producing content, which is good.
But it's also that Brazil was also a giant phenomenon, right? Because I remember I just talked to you a few days ago that Brazil has like 7 in the 10 largest lives worldwide. So it's a phenomenon everywhere, but in Brazil it seems to be really huge. And let me ask you a bit more about technology companies. You are in digital business. What kind of movement you have seen in technology? Which areas are growing the most? What's going on in Brazil?
Well, about technology companies, like any other companies, they were affected also. You could say, well, but they are doing things, their products, their services were exactly what people needed right now. So they were supposed to increase their business, and that's true. But the problem is that the customers of those companies crashed, stopped working. So we need to split that in some areas. For example, in the very first days, we saw that companies like those who produce and sell notebooks, printers, and some things that were needed for building a home office, they had a burst in the sellout of those products, because people were going inside the home and they were creating their home offices, right? But after that, I start to see that companies that they produce solutions for the business, different kind of business, increased very much. And in some aspects, some companies they were very happy with the situation. For example, delivery companies, e-commerce companies, and food delivery is increasing ahead. They doubled their business in this period. In fact, we had, including iFood, which is the major company in this scenario here in Brazil. They crashed twice during this period in the Mother's Day. Well, last Friday here in Brazil was Valentine's. Well, in Brazil, Valentine's is different than any other country in the world.
Yes.
We have that on June 12th.
Yes.
Was last Friday. And they crashed because there were so many requests and the server went down. But it's a good problem, because people are definitely understanding this new way of living, and that technology is in this very center of this process for production products, services, and so on.
So okay, so e-commerce also boomed, and one thing
yes.
and one thing that is kind of interesting is because Brazilians like do more e-commerce than Portugal. However, Portuguese do more food retail shopping than Brazil. Do you have an idea, or do you have an insight why Brazilians don't like to buy food, do their shopping, food shopping in the supermarket, in the online supermarket? Have you ever heard of that?
Well, I guess that's a cultural aspect. Brazilian, they like to go to supermarket. Period. It's a place of meet other people, which is a problem in the situation that we have now, because we should not supposed to do that. But especially for elder people, they go to supermarket because they know the employees of the place. They go to talk with the butcher. They things like that.
It's like those things that's quite completely weird for people from everywhere, which is buy fruit on the street, right? And let me ask you one thing. Yeah, we have like Claudia, like 800 places to buy fruit on the street in São Paulo, which is a city with bad traffic. So okay, we have traffic, but we want to buy fruit on the street.
And it's incredible. Live fruit and pastel, right?
Oh,
there is no English word for that. And it's a very, very, very peculiar food of these street markets here in São Paulo. Pastel.
If you ask me, it's the only thing that I miss from Brazil in terms of food. In Portugal, is the only thing. You cannot find it anywhere. And
it's amazing.
Yes, it is. It's a phenomenon. And one question. Oh no, I think Claudia has a question, right, Claudia? No. Actually, can I ask you? Sorry. Yes. Do you have any? I think we discussed a little bit about that reinvention cases that you observed in not in just in media or in technology, but in other business that completely turn around some specific business. I think it's nice for people from different industries to know where Brazilian is innovating more.
Well, in this very moment, every company had to reinvent itself to keep doing their business, but there was some interesting examples that were very related to the situation itself. For example, healthcare, especially mental health care. We had, well, people are going nuts after 3 months inside home, right?
Yeah.
So we saw since the very first month, different companies, startups, that they were offering even for free psychology attendance, punctual, specific psychology attendance for people that needed only everything done by Skype or their own platforms.
And chatbots, yes. I've heard about that, yes. Chatbots, but in some cases it's not people that are replying, so they are
but here, yes, that's true. But here, what we saw, different companies and even different professionals by themselves, their own initiatives that were offering these psychology attendance for people using different tools for that, Skype or WhatsApp, which is very popular here in Brazil, Zoom. And as I said, some startups that were more mature in this business. We have, I guess, half dozen of this companies actually working on psychology business, online psychology business here in Brazil. They have their own platforms, which brings some benefits. So this is one case that was very interesting, and we have some developments also related to the coronavirus. For example, into productions of mechanical ventilators, right? Which is a major problem here in Brazil, because we needed more and more, and we just couldn't find where to buy, because United States were buying ventilators all around the world. There was nothing left for us.
No stock.
Yes, out of stock, even in China. Well, and some universities here, University of São Paulo here, they developed a very interesting project of a mechanical ventilator that costs only around $200. It's very little, right? We consider that
yes, comparatively with the ones bought in China, it's low price.
$6,000. They were producing these ventilators for only $200, which is very welcome.
That's even for Portugal. Portugal also did a ventilator, but it was not 200. It's not even possible. And I have to say, Carlos agrees with you also about the pastel. He also misses it. He's in Italy.
Carlos is here is from São Paulo?
Carlos, I think, is from the south.
Okay, well, he knows.
It's not just São Paulo. You see, there are more people missing
São
pastel.
Paulo is the home of pastel.
It is. Japanese invented, but made it Brazilian. And
yes, true.
And he's also asking about the fintech. Yeah, he's saying he's almost Paulistano.
Okay.
He's surprised about the fintech in Brazil. He's talking about the payment systems offered by WhatsApp, which is in beta version. Have you ever tried? Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Well, this payment for WhatsApp has just announced here by Mark Zuckerberg last Monday. He announced that Brazil is the place where they will broadly test the payment methods for WhatsApp. And I truly believe that will be a huge success, because first, we love at WhatsApp. We have 110 million users here in Brazil of WhatsApp. And well, Brazilian, I don't know why, maybe also a cultural component. We love technology. So it's, I believe that this will be very soon adopted. But we have about from 2 years from now, we are experiencing here in Brazil what we say the payment machine war. Incredible. Yes, we had before until 3 years ago, we had basically 2 companies for paying methods here in Brazil, which was Cielo and Rede. And then entered the Universal Online Wall. They launched their own system, which is Moderninha, which was a huge success because it was very cheap. So we could see, for example, hot dog vendors in the street having their own digital method. Yes, everywhere you go, you could pay using digital methods. So it was a revolution here. And but from 2 years from now, we had an explosion, and we had a lot of companies launching their own machines, a lot of banks entering in this scenario. So it's true. We say that's truly a war of the payment machines here in Brazil. And now we have WhatsApp entering in this scenario, and I guess it will be move everything.
And it's curious, just to double click a little bit here on LinkedIn, for instance, in Brazil, you will be the ones that will have the stories format.
Yes.
Have you heard about that? And you are also, you will be the pioneer, a pioneer on this. And
yes,
curious.
well, yeah. Also, another innovation in these platforms. Brazil, as I said, I guess. Well, everything related to media, social media, works fine here in Brazil. Brazilian, they love social media. So these companies, these platforms, they like to make tests, beta tests here in Brazil. We have, 1 month ago, we have the launch of LinkedIn Stories here in Brazil also.
Okay. Well, you tell us after how did it go, because I don't know when it will come to Portugal.
Don't say that. Come on, Claudia, don't say that.
Well, Paulo, just one question. What do you do? What piece of advice do you have for a company that is starting their digital transformation, or that they started to get to the point that they realize that they need a digital transformation? So, what piece of advice do you have for these kind of companies?
Yeah, good. First thing, you're late. Especially in this situation that we are living today, right? The technology, digital technology, as I mentioned before, is in the center of all this movement. Companies, they just need to do that, to innovate in order to keep working. But digital transformation, I used to say that digital transformation is more transformation than digital. Yes.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Yes.
Most of the companies that fail on digital transformation is because they invest in equipment, they invest in software, but the business model, their head is still analog, old style.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't work. First things first. Now we need to
change our attitude.
Reimagine the way we think about our own business, right? We sometimes you just don't need to have a major investment in technology for doing a good digital transformation, especially in situations of crisis like we are facing now. As I was talking to Rose a couple of days ago of another case here in São Paulo, we could say that's a digital transformation of a very traditional business, which is high cuisine, high gastronomy companies, which
not the pastel.
Not pastel, definitely. The opposite, the other side, other extreme. Which obviously the restaurants are closed, and but some restaurants, they decide to that they should do something. So they start to sell online, which is, well, kind of a small digital transformation. But what was very interesting in this scenario, what was the major transformation itself was not digital. They need to produce, to create some high-tech boxes in order they could
maintain the quality.
Yes, but the food, it was not, they couldn't send it ready because, well, the presentation is important. So these boxes, they keep the quality of the food, but the different ingredients, they were sent pre-ready, almost ready. So the people buy using, for example, iFood or Uber Eats or whatever, and they receive that boxes in their home with instructions.
A tutorial.
So they could finish, yes, they finish the experience, because it's an experience, not just food, right? It's an experience they complete at home. So it's very interesting.
Really great example.
And maybe I would like to ask you, yes, I really like that example, because I think when we saw deliveries in Portugal, they were most focused on average restaurants, like shopping malls restaurants, which is good because at least the small business were somehow protected. But it's not like the revolution. I saw Fazano also did a delivery of their service. I think the concept was different. They didn't have a high-tech package. Fazano, Claudia, is one of the most traditional and high cuisine restaurants in Brazil. But they did a different idea. They just did a delivery close to their houses, like 5 minutes, which in São Paulo, I'm not sure how much business they got from delivering in 5 minutes. 5 minutes doesn't go.
Here in Brazil, I guess it's the time in the elevator.
Yes, it really is. It's just enough time to leave the condo. I would like to ask you, how do you see the economic recovery? First, in the first next 6 months, and then I would like to make a preview on the next 12 months. How do you see, for example, I remember we discussed on the previous live how when we are going to do presential events again, when companies are going to get their usual business back, or they are never going to do their business like, give us an overview, please.
Well, truth to be told, I guess no one really knows that answer, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Especially because here in Brazil, because we are we are managing very badly the situation of the virus. The isolation here was poor, and very poor and uneven. So the problem is that we are always pushing forward the end of the crisis. I don't know exactly when we could say that we are at least somehow safe to resume our business here. In fact, resume our normal life. But I believe that only by the end of this year. For example, yesterday, federal universities, they declared that, most of them declared that they understand that they won't have presential classes this year anymore, only next year.
Oh, okay.
They said this, we are in June, and they already said that only next year, because the crisis doesn't cease, right? I believe that the same will happen for events, for presential events. We have already a lot of measures that could be done to allow the events to take place, but that's they were things that they would increase a lot the costs of the event.
Okay.
We need to put half of the people inside, and we have lots of measures that, for example, measure temperature and
yes, the ROI, the return on investment will be
yes. So
no web summit will take place here in it was on Twitter a couple of days ago. and they announced that Web Summit will take place. It's last year, it was 70,000 people. I don't know what will be the conditions this year, but it's in November. So I find it quite weird. I don't know if you'll go move on, but it was on Twitter.
I don't believe true that we will have major events this year in Brazil again.
Yeah.
Very unlikely.
It's risky.
Very unlikely. Yeah. Hopefully next year, yes, we'll be able to resume these activities. Companies, they are already starting to reopen here in Brazil with some limitations. Retail is reopening, offices are reopening. We still don't have sports. We still don't have movie theaters, things like that. We just don't know yet when we will have that. And yes,
not even soccer.
Not even soccer. Rio de Janeiro, they said they will resume soccer this weekend, but some soccer teams there in Rio, they decided that they won't return because they are not ready. They understand that they are not ready. Here in São Paulo, soccer teams will resume their trainings, but we still don't know when the games will take place again. And definitely no support, no people in the stadiums are. The games will, the matches will happen with the gates closed of the stadiums.
Do you think, because I just heard of something today, do you think that maybe do you see any movement that they do their promotion in a digital format, soccer teams or something like that?
I don't know if you understand the question. What I've heard is that I guess in China, they created a software. They put around, I guess, well, lots of speakers in the stadium. So the cheers, the people, the supporters of the teams, they watch the match online, and they can clap their hands. They can sing, and everything they say will be heard in the stadium, like if the people were there, but there was no one there. I don't know if that's what you were asking.
This is very Black Mirror. This is really like a Black Mirror
Very
episode.
Black Mirror. Well, I see that Black Mirror became some sort of user guide for our present life. It's kind of weird.
Yes, it is. It is, because the end is usually not brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, Claudia, you have one more question, right?
No, it's much. I think we are done. I know that Paulo needs to run to the other live, so prepare mentally to the other live. So I think we could wrap up. Rose, could you wrap up, and then we can finish the live session?
Okay, thank you very much. So just to make a few conclusions of that event, one important thing I think we discussed is no matter how much digital you can go, we still miss people a lot. We need pastel, we need a supermarket, see people, talk. I also think that another thing that I believe it's interesting that it seems like everything can go to Uber. You can Uberize pretty much almost every business. I was not thinking about psychologists going to Uber, but that was a pretty nice.
Well, we have now called Uber.
Yeah, I think we didn't mention, but the bars and discos, those are tough. It's difficult to digitalize that kind of business.
You cannot have fun in a digital bar with an avatar. That's not fun. And
but you know this. Sorry to interrupt. That we are having here in Brazil several cases of online happy hour.
Really?
Yeah. With DJs and
people. Yes, they join into a Zoom session. Everyone at home with their own drinks, and they keep talking like if they were in a happy hour. We have digital happy hours. We have digital pizza sessions I myself joined some of them, and you know, it was fun.
It's fun. Yeah.
So
We
it's
were not
possible to
able
have.
to join our friends in person. It was very very fun. We kept around 2 hours in a Zoom session, everyone drinking and eating and talking like if you were in a bar. Yes.
Well, right.
Well, not great experience, but okay, that was something.
It was fun.
Yeah,
It was a way of connecting.
It does the job. It does the job. So yeah. So apparently, yes, we can. It doesn't replace presential interaction, but it just it's a temporary substitution. And yes, I think that that's important. And I think that that technology for packaging in high cuisine, that's also very unexpected example that you gave.
And the tutorials.
That shows us that pretty much everything can go digital, no matter what you think. And I thank you very much, Paulo, and we know that you have a very busy schedule. I would like just to remember that in the next few weeks we are going to have another What's Next talk. The next talk is going to be with New Jersey in the US, and it's going to be focused on the pharmaceutical business. We are going to talk to Global Strategy from BASF, and she's going to talk a little bit about the challenges that the American market is facing, as well as how pharmaceutical companies are supporting the coronavirus efforts. Thank you very much, everyone.
Well.
See
thank
you
you. Thank you for the opportunity. Nice
Good luck,
you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paulo. Good luck for the SAP talk.
Yeah,
thank
we
you
are
very much.
Thank you.
Yes, very well.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.